is the MandaLOREians Explosion Network's after show, where we're talking about and discussing each and every episode of the Disney Plus original Star Wars series, The Mandalorian. Of course, my name's Dylan White, and joining me to discuss today's episode, Ashley Hobley.
Dylan, I'm really excited to be here. We might know the child's name now, but he'll always be Yeezel in our hearts.
That's something to get into. So let's dive in, because like this episode, it didn't spend much time messing about. Live action Ahsoka is real, long rumored, whatever, we've been talking about it each and every week, and it officially happened. Rosario Dawson is playing live action Ahsoka, and I am quite happy.
Yeah? How you're obviously, I'm sure, assuming some people have listened to this before. If you haven't, Dylan, massive Ahsoka fan, favorite character in the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. From my understanding, that's a safe statement. Yes,
that's the same.
So how are you feeling after 45 minutes of live action Ahsoka?
I think the thing that shocked me the most was just how what would you call it? Like, because obviously animated character coming into live action, I kind of expected a 5 to 10 minute period of my brain sort of maybe adjusting to seeing live action, but she looked so good that I was just in. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just a testament to how good the makeup and the prosthetics and all that sort of stuff is, and also the casting choice, because Rosario Dawson did a great job, I thought.
Yes. In the animated series, does her headpiece move at all?
Not really.
Because that was the only thing. It was like very
not really.
Still.
They're pretty still. I don't think they. The end.
It's not like other Twi'leks. Yeah.
No. Well, what do they call them? Head. I meant to blank on the proper word. But like the bottom parts will slightly move, but no, they're not like, they don't like swing around. I think they did when they're younger. Like, they moved more, if that makes sense, and then like you grow into them, and then they're a bit more. Still, I'm sure they could have made them move if that was a thing that they needed to do. But otherwise, no. I thought the makeup, all the prosthetics, and I also just think Rosario Dawson did a great job. She is playing older. She's playing exactly the version of Ahsoka that we're getting in this time period. Which is old, wise, you want to call her like, I don't, people make memes on the internet and compare her to like Gandalf the Grey, and even Dave Filoni, who, by the way, I forgot to say this episode name.
Directed.
It's called The Jedi. It's directed by Dave Filoni, written by Dave Filoni. We don't have synopsis because we're literally recording this as the episode finished, so whatever, this will be a bit of an interesting episode. But yeah, even he's like drawn pictures and posted like Ahsoka. I had that as a background on my phone for like a year straight, where he did like a doodle drawing of Gandalf the Grey standing next to Ahsoka and him saying to her like, "I died once too," or so, like or something like that. So, and that's kind of what this version of Ahsoka is. It's like, the much older Ahsoka. She wears the grey. The first thing you see in the episode with her having the grey, what do you call it, the coat, whatever you want to call it. Poncho? I don't know, whatever. That grey coat, poncho cloak thing, whatever, cloak, yeah. That's literally her outfit from the last time we saw Ahsoka in anything Star Wars, which was the final scene of Star Wars Rebels. I can't remember if I've explained for people who are like a little bit, I'm not going to do like the full 101 Ahsoka Tano backstory here, but like to set up the ending of Rebels as to like leading into this. The ending of Rebels... by the way, Star Wars Rebels is a animated show that was set during the couple years before Episode 4, right? So it was about kind of this splinter group that would eventually form into the larger rebellion, which you see in the A New Hope, of course. But the end scene of Star Wars Rebels actually fast forwards to the end of Episode 6. So like the Empire's been defeated and blah, 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 blah. And it does a whole like, this is where all the characters are. And the final scene of Rebels is Sabine Wren, which is a character from Rebels who's a Mandalorian. And she is looking at this giant painting she's painted of all the family of Rebels characters, which includes Ezra Bridger, who is important to pin note because I'm going to bring him up a little bit later. Ezra Bridger, who disappeared along with Thrawn, who will also pin note and come back to in a little bit as well. So Ezra and Thrawn, at the end of the season finale, they kind of it's hard to say it out loud and explain if you haven't watched it.
Come on, say it.
I mean,
what happens?
They basically get zapped into an unknown part of the galaxy by space whales. Let's just that's basically what happens. They're called narwhals. Narwhals, I think so. Anyway, they're like space whales. They travel through whatever. They get zapped. So they
it's
go
much
missing.
Cooler when
it's much cooler if you watch it anyway. So Thrawn and Ezra disappear. Ezra's a Jedi, by the way. That's important. Thrawn, who was a grand. Well, I mean, we'll come back to it. Thrawn was, a big bad during the last couple seasons of Rebels, and of course his name gets mentioned in this episode, so we'll come back to him as well. But the ending scene of Rebels is Sabine looking at this painting, and then she turns around, there's like a whole monologue, and then Ahsoka's like standing there with like the grey cloak on and everything, looking badass, and it basically implies that Ahsoka and Sabine are going to head off and try and track down the location of Ezra. So
where was Ahsoka during the original trilogy? People really don't know.
Don't know.
Because obviously Rebels ends before.
Don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know. Like,
Yeah,
because Rebels just before the original trilogy, end of Rebels at the end of the original trilogy. Like, they never explained.
This article from Vanity Fair said she went into the world between worlds between that period, but
no. Well,
I don't know if that's accurate or
I mean. Yeah, we don't actually know what she does or where she goes. There's no like definitive answer to like what happens, because you got to remember that. I mean, basically what happens, and I'm trying to like not get too in deep for people who are listening, watching, who haven't seen Rebels. So like in Rebels season
Probably
2,
should put a spoiler weapon.
Yeah, whatever. Like at this stage, spoilers for Rebels or Clone Wars or anything like that's prior to the Mandalorian. Like that's just what we're dealing with here.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. So in Rebels season 2, I think it was 2, Ahsoka has this big duel versus Vader where she finds out that it's her master. Dun dun dun. Probably my favorite episode of anything Star Wars, I think, is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite duel, because it's just so emotional. But at the end of that, it implies that she like gets crushed in this Sith temple, and Vader like barely escapes. And then in Rebels, in the last season, they enter the world between worlds, which to explain the world between worlds, it's basically a Star Wars equivalent of being able to like enter a place between time and space where you can kind of travel and to anywhere, or seemingly anywhere. And of course, Emperor Palpatine wants this power, and they don't want to give it to him, because if Emperor Palpatine could time travel, then you have the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. So like it all links up. Yeah, but so they save Ahsoka in that episode because Ezra pulls her out of the way of the rubble, so seemingly saves her. However, at the end of that episode, she's like, no, I've got to figure this out myself. And like she heads back through, like after the temple's already crashed.
Okay, yeah.
So then she goes back through. So she's then in that timeline, but then the next time we see her is at the end of Rebels. So like she does disappear for a period of time. What she does, who knows? But she's not, I never took that as she's exploring the world between worlds, because she exits world between worlds and heads back to her original timeline. So there's no like Doctor Who timey wibbly wobbly stuff.
Technically, she just could have walked out, and then it's exactly the
like there's no weird time travel stuff happening, because she literally pops out for like a minute and then goes back in. Like Ezra just saves her from getting killed, basically. Anyway, that's Ahsoka. What a character with a lot of history. So yeah, we come into this episode. Here's the thing with this episode. I'm gonna put it out here now. I can see already there being a lot of negative criticism for this basically being a semi-backdoor pilot episode, which I would 100% agree with as being that is a criticism you could cop at it, but I do not care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand the criticism, and I can see it coming, because that's what this episode does feel like. That a lot of this episode is Ahsoka. It is a very Ahsoka heavy episode. If you have no idea or don't care about Ahsoka, maybe this episode isn't going to do much for you. Either way, I think it's beautifully shot. Obviously heavily Kurosawa inspired. Dave Filoni, very much like, especially that final duel. Which fitting, because of course George Lucas was originally inspired by like Kurosawa films and samurai films in general. So like, and as I was saying the other week, Dave Filoni is the apprentice of George Lucas, so that all adds up. But ultimately, this is a. Did you not feel it? Did you feel like it felt like semi backdoor pilot-ish to a degree?
Yeah, a little bit. Like they were definitely setting up for potentially another animated series or something.
Well, that's the big question. It's like, are they setting up for a live action Ahsoka series, or are they setting up just for the animated Rebels sequel series?
I mean, animated would make more sense.
Yeah.
Longevity wise, but yeah. There's obviously things brought up that I don't expect to be continued in the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And if they are, then
like you said, I don't really care. We got it here, and it was a great 45 minutes of television, I thought.
Yeah. But I can definitely see that being a criticism. Because we're recording this right after, so I expect reviews to go up, and some people love it, some people hate it. I don't know. If you're a Ahsoka fan, I feel like if you're a Ahsoka fan, like I'm an Ahsoka fan, then I feel like you're just gonna love this, because it's live action Ahsoka done right. Like, it's live action Ahsoka directed by Dave Filoni. Shrug. It was awesome. I was enthralled the entire time. We got more than one kick-ass sequence. You know what I mean? Like, the other thing that I thought when Ahsoka would be introduced, I'd be like, oh, they'll save the fight scene or something. Like, they'll save her lightsabers. But not only do they open with it, but then you get like two more. Like, you get the fight at the start, you get the fight, you get to see her pull them out against Mando.
You get a fight at the bell, you get a fight
the bell,
like in the streets, and then the final duel.
And then the final,
so like four different fights.
Yeah, and the final full Kurosawa
you get a fight in Mando as well, that's 5,
Yeah, so there's like a lot of lightsaber action that I wouldn't have expected. But again, it kind of makes sense, because they'd already said her name, so the fact they just opened the episode, they're like, hey, here she is.
I mean, blah, blah, blah. They called the episode The Jedi.
Yeah.
And it was pretty widely announced beforehand that the episode was called The Jedi.
Yeah.
So just get straight to the point,
Yeah.
Made her look like a badass for anybody who hadn't watched any
Clone Wars,
any Clone
Rebels,
Wars or anything.
Whatever.
They're like, damn, she's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well, I
Better
think
than this Luke Skywalker, dude.
I think that's an interesting thing, because, like, for example, I know our own Nicholas Pryor hates Ahsoka because he tried to watch the Clone Wars like the anime series or like the movie at some stage, and found her super annoying. And I know a lot of people like had the same sentiments, or they felt that way, and then she grew on them, because like when Ahsoka was introduced, obviously she's like I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but she's Anakin's apprentice. She's a lot younger. She can be like that childlike annoyance to her, whereas the Ahsoka version in this, and the Ahsoka that you get in Rebels, is the much older, been through a lot of shit, a much wiser Ahsoka Tano. And I guess the other important thing I'll say for people who maybe like, oh, what's all this nonsense about her not being a Jedi, but she has lightsabers, blah, 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 blah. Ahsoka got, in the Clone Wars, long story short, Ahsoka was accused of some shit by the Jedi Council, which she did not do. She was set up by someone. And then, even though by the end of that run of episodes, they find out that she was accused wrongly or whatever, she basically says that she was so hurt by the council turning on her and like believing all these lies about her and all this sort of stuff, that even though they invite her back in to be a Jedi, she turns her back and she walks away from being a Jedi. And from that moment on, throughout the rest of Clone Wars, even when they did the season that ran earlier this year, she never says that she's like a Jedi. Like, she works with Jedi in that final season. Like, she talks to Anakin and Obi-Wan or whatever at the end of the Clone Wars and all that sort of stuff, but she never once returns to be a Jedi. Like, it's something that's important. If you only watch the movies, you think anyone with a lightsaber in the Force must be a Jedi, but Ahsoka is not a Jedi. Like if the Mandalorian creed is a thing and then the Jedi creed's a thing, you can not follow them and still have the powers and weapons and so forth. So might as well just continue down the train of stuff here because again, there's really not much Mando relevant plot stuff to discuss here other than the name reveal, I guess, which is what? Grungo? Fuck. Well, I forgot.
Grogu.
Grogu. There we go. So how do you feel about the name Grogu?
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. Nah. Going to forget it again, and then I'm never going to use it. Anyway, so Yeetle.
I mean, it's
also
no
known,
Yeetle, but
yeah.
I guess we should refer to him as Grogu from now
I don't
on.
think anyone's going to.
So keep remember.
No one's going to. We're going to keep calling him Yeetle because that's what I'm used to now. People on the internet are going to keep calling him the child or baby Yoda. No one's going to call him Grongo.
Grogu.
Yeah, same difference. no one's Grogu.
Yeah.
No, it's whatever. Doesn't need it. But yeah, other than that, obviously,
I don't know if the Mando keeps calling him by name.
Maybe it'll grow.
It'll warm up.
At this stage, one episode into the name,
Once they start putting out figures with the proper name,
I wonder if they'll
like get the special Grogu pop vinyls.
I wonder if they'll update the packaging for the child merchandise.
I mean, sell it twice. You get one version with the child, one version with Grogu on the label.
It's true.
Isn't that what Star Wars does?
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Red Arm C-3PO. There you go. Yeah.
This Stormtrooper B.
Yeah. Well, yes. So, I mean, what do you think of the main plot this episode? Like, as little as it is, like, it's pretty simple. It's literally Mando turns up at place looking for Jedi. Jedi's there trying to get information out of a woman who's seemingly destroyed an entire planet, nearly killed everyone on it, keeping prisoners, and she has a big Beskar fuck off spear. Like that, and then end of story, they save the people.
They two team up against the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid story. I mean, it definitely felt like what we've seen so far, like an old school Western or a samurai film of bounty hunter coming into town and like getting information, then turning against whoever's trying to hire him and that kind of stuff. Obviously, Ahsoka, really great. There was genuinely moments where I thought, maybe this is the last time we see
what about
Yeetle. Yeah, maybe she's going to take him away, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
But no, she does the responsible things and doesn't go all Qui-Gon Jinn and decide to train a kid who probably shouldn't be trained.
Pin and that will come back. We'll come back to the end of the end of the episode because there's lots to pull apart there. I was going to say,
we want to talk about the information we learned about Grook.
About Grook or Grongo?
About Yeetle. Okay.
Yeetle. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's who I know. Yeetle. Yeah. So what we do learn about Yeetle this episode is that apparently he was during the Clone Wars period, or I guess like slightly before, he was training at the Jedi Temple. Like he was a youngling training. I don't think it was implied that Ahsoka knew him, but like she learnt this information. Or maybe she did know him. I don't know. Like they were like mind.
He was a youngling.
Yeah, he was a youngling during that time. He was then hidden away as the Empire took over.
In my mind, there's a scene where the kid asks Anakin Skywalker what they're supposed to do before he kills them all. In the background, little Yeetle's going around and walking around. You know, like Groot during the start of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. He's just wandering around, completely noticing that every other youngling in that room is getting murdered.
Waiting for the Disney Plus cut of
chasing
Star Wars
some
Episode
food
3.
or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Please flashback at some point.
He was hidden away for some reason, which is interesting because it kind of implies that he's so important or so powerful that he would be hidden away.
Hidden by who?
Yeah, and hidden by who? And then who took him? And then who took him out of the who?
Yeah, and at what point?
At what point? Like that, we got some answers, but obviously it just leads to.
It just raises more questions.
Yeah. Like, why would a youngling have to be hidden away. I feel like the story is just going to go in sort of the most obvious direction because, like even Ahsoka, when she's talking about him, says, like I knew one of his kind before, his all-powerful Jedi Yoda, right? So the way she talks about him and the way I guess a lot of people in Star Wars, without ever being told, have felt like Yoda's species is maybe like special in some way, that they're just always powerful or like strong with the Force or something along those lines. So maybe it's as simple as that. Like I would hate for it to be like, oh, it's Yoda's child. Don't do that. That's stupid. But I mean, if they go down the relatively simple path of, well, whatever Yoda's species is there's not many of them. They are maybe they're created by the Force or some midi-chlorian bullshit. And they're always powerful in the Force. And
was
then
it
M count or whatever they said at the
M counts.
Yeah, at the last episode. Yeah. Because I could get down with that. Like he's hidden away because he is powerful and rare. And
I mean, that would make sense in the same way that Anakin was technically created by the Force.
Yeah. For whatever reason. Which again, the Force works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could do that. They could go down that direction. But then on the opposite end, then you have like there's a lot of questions there at the beginning and there's a lot of questions after, which is who took him out of his hiding spot? Where was his hiding spot? If the person took him out, is it the same person that took him onto hiding in whatever that planet was at the start of last season? How does the Empire learn of him?
What has been doing for the last 20, 30 years. Yeah.
Will he get his memories back?
Yeah.
Like, why does the Empire, or at least Gideon, know about him? Like how, if he was hidden away?
How?
There's just there's definitely lots of questions there. And then as for, I guess, well, hold on, I'll come pin in the ending because I want to talk about that final scene. Like obviously all the action stuff this episode was fantastic. All the Ahsoka scenes were fantastic and all that sort of stuff. But I really felt like that final scene in particular just showed Filoni shooting in two styles. Like the Mando versus unnamed guard or whatever was shot like a typical sort of Western showdown. And then when they cut to the other side of the gate, it was being shot like a Kurosawa samurai film or something.
Oh, man.
Especially
this year after playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. So you feel it.
Waiting for that click.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was great. I also like how he's like, okay, first live action Ahsoka episode, just gonna go full like samurai showdown. That woman, like the whatever you want to call it, the leader, the ruler of that planet.
Hang on, I got it. It's Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah.
Magistrate.
That's a no one, right? Unless you could find something. No.
There's the first appearance.
First appearance, yeah. I was like, they said her name, and I don't think I'm supposed to know that, but sure, maybe if someone else, I know. So yeah, get to the ending because of course the ending, lots of interesting questions. Because one thing coming into this episode was interesting, which was that hey, last episode was the last of everything we'd seen in the trailer. Episode 5 onwards of this season's all brand new, fresh footage. What are they hiding? What's happening? Obviously, Ahsoka they were hiding. What are they hiding going forward? But also, like coming into the episode, it was just like, well, he has to give her the child because that is his whole mission. Like I was trying to, you know what I mean? Like you're trying to think of a way out of it. And I guess they get somewhat out of it. But even this whole mission he now sends her on. She sent him on, sorry. Which maybe they'll get to next week. Maybe they'll do an interlude and they'll get to it the week after. I don't know. But either way, she's like, go to this place. I've already forgot the name of. Some Jedi temple.
Okay, so Thyton. Mm-hmm. Probably Thyton. So
there is
it's
history.
A planet located in the galaxy's deep core and shrouded in myth. So in the original Legends continuity, Thyton first appeared in the 2007 novel Darth Bane, Rule of Two, where it was the original homeworld of the Jedi Order and its successor, the Jedi Order. In the new canon, Thyton was first mentioned in a map created for the 2016 role-playing game Star Wars The Force Awakens beginner game, and the planet first appeared in the 2019 comic book Dr. Aphra 40.
Yep.
So facts.
Hit you with some hard facts. Ahsoka's like, go take him to that location, climb up the steps, whatever, put him on the pedestal, put him on the mountain, and see what happens. Which, of course, let's lay it out, right? So she says, put him on there, and then he's going to reach out through the Force and like ring a ding ding, call to some Jedi. Now, let's lay out literally all the Jedi that could show up or possibly could show up, right? So Ahsoka crossed off the list. She doesn't want anything to do with him unless she's, I don't know. But let's put out option B straight away. That could be Ahsoka's using him as bait, kind of, and hoping like Ezra Bridger would turn up.
Maybe he's strong enough to call out Ezra.
Yeah,
you know,
which, I mean, I think that would be silly, but just laying out the options on the table. So Ezra Bridger is another Jedi that's currently alive during the timeline. So just so we have all names on table.
We think.
I'm going to say he is, or else they wouldn't be like setting up the whole idea of a sequel series where they're trying to find him. But yeah, we're led to believe Ezra Bridger's alive somewhere in the galaxy. So Ahsoka, Ezra. You have, of course, Luke Skywalker, who's the most obvious one. You have Leia Organa, technically, I guess. Like at this point, she is training with Luke, at least. Like we don't have a great understanding on what year she quit training, because she had a whole foreshadow about like her son or whatever. But so there's two. You've got the Skywalkers, and the last one to lay on the table as a possibility is Cal Kestis. Cal Kestis. I can't remember how. Right?
Yes.
From
sure.
the other years, video games, Star Wars, Jedi: The Fallen Order, which that game takes place. What was it? Before Episode 4? Or after? It was around that time period, right? Episode 4-ish timeline, something like that. But either way, he doesn't die at the end of the game, right? So he could be alive by now.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It was definitely episode
during the occupation. Yeah.
Yeah, because spoilers, he fights Vader at the end of the game, whatever. And he survives.
Man,
somehow.
I haven't finished it yet.
Haven't you finished it? Oh my god.
Maybe on PS5.
Yeah, right. So there's all your Jedis. So Ahsoka, seen her.
That's a possibility.
Ezra, somewhere out there in the galaxy, maybe. The Skywalkers, Luke and Leia. And Cal Kestis. Right? So that's all the Jedi. Unless they introduce someone new. So what
possibility?
Which is, let's say never is never, but at this stage, I don't know. Like, what do you think is going to happen? What
this stage, what I think is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. He's going to do that, and then they're going to get ambushed by, the Moff Gideon.
Yes. Well, that's
what's going to happen.
That's a plausible thing. Yes.
And then we get a shot of a young Luke Skywalker sensing something in the Force and not doing anything about it. That's it.
let me lay out some probability on some of this stuff. Probability of Ezra showing up after them kind of showing their hand this episode and being like, we're quite happy to just chuck out Rebels references. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that one in 30%. Which is higher than I would have given it prior to this episode. Okay? So Ezra Bridger, 30%. He would be a blue-haired dude if he shows up there. If you see a blue-haired dude show up and you're like, who's that? That's Ezra Bridger. I don't know who they would cast to play him. They could get the same actor to voice as him, I guess. He kind of looks like him. Ahsoka, I've already seen, yes. Likelihood of Luke Skywalker. I'm gonna go out here on a limb. I'm gonna put it at 60%, honestly. I think at this stage, I think that Lucasfilm / Disney, whatever you want to call them, I don't think they would be against casting a young Luke Skywalker and just going, fuck it. Let's just go for it. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's one way to do it. I mean, like potentially end of the season, just one shot of whoever's playing Luke. That would be a bold choice, and then it'd be like 12 months before we actually see him in action, that kind of thing. I don't know if they introduce somebody if there isn't going to be long-term plans. And then from that, do you recast the entire original trilogy cast?
I don't think you need them all in the show suddenly. I don't like.
But if Luke's going to suddenly appear, is it just to be in The Mandalorian, or are they going to do more with a recast Luke?
I don't know. These are the big questions. I would hope the answer is no, because I personally don't need to see any like Luke spin-off series or something. Like, I'm good, personally.
I think far more likely is a Luke showing up in that animated series.
Yeah, just because they can get away with someone doing Luke voice and Mark Hamill voice, and
I mean, Mark Hamill could probably even come back.
I don't think he can sound like his younger self anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think
they can do some audio effects.
I know he's a voice actor and all, but I just don't think he can actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Leia would be slightly lower. Just like fuck it, I'll put Leia like at 20%, simply because you're playing around with the Carrie Fisher thing, and
Yeah. I mean, how long a time period do you think before they touch that? It's an interesting question.
I don't know. Like, we're only just removed from Rise of Skywalker when you like put things into perspective. It was only last year, so.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
But also 20 years ago. So
yeah, I guess.
Feels like
Cal Kestis, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put it 50% because.
Yeah.
You don't reckon?
I don't think so. I think they want to keep that. I don't think they want to guarantee that he's going to survive the entire.
I know. Did you think that would be a bad thing for them to be like, look, he survives this long, and then all of a sudden the video games, like, do you reckon it would ruin
filling in the gaps? Yeah.
You reckon it would ruin the potential sequel knowing he couldn't die in the game?
I mean, it wouldn't ruin it, but you would kind of know the direction it's going.
Yeah, but
I feel like they don't want to. I don't think they want to stifle Respawn's story, whatever that might be, by putting him somewhere else. Unless they've set in stone the direct path they're going through.
What if they discuss with him and like, hey, we're trying to think of a character. Would you be okay with Cal becoming live action? Because you got to remember, what's his name? Monaghan?
He looks like exactly like, yeah.
Like the actor that plays him is a quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, real actor. So he could just play like a live action actor. He could literally just play the exact same character. Like he does all the voice and mocap and
it's based on his likeness. Yeah.
We did all the mocap. You know, like it's based on his likeness. He did all the mocap. He did all the voice work, whatever you want to call it. Like it is him. So I mean, he would fit. Who have I missed? No one, right? Blah 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 blah. New character showing up. That's probably the highest likelihood, isn't it? Like,
probably
like.
Or hear me out. Force Ghost.
I mean, they could do Force Ghosts, but then like, who would it be? It would just be Force Ghost Yoda, right?
Well, that would be the most obvious one.
Yeah.
But also the most on the nose one.
Look like me, you do.
Son.
Son.
Tell me about you, she did not.
Wow, this show would go full memes at that point. I mean, new character, I'm not against, but I'm just, to a degree.
Mace Windu.
Imagine.
1.1%?
Yeah, 1.1%. I think a new character being introduced would make the most sense because it's like the least grating for people who don't watch the animated shows or play the games, comics, etc., etc. But I like, it could be done right, but at the same time, I just don't like there being too many Jedi introduced in this time period. Like, I know when they introduced, when they were like, oh, Ahsoka survived, then people were like, well, that doesn't make sense. But then once they did a whole "I'm not a Jedi" storyline,
once they explain it,
like it starts to make sense. Because then people who don't understand Ahsoka and like haven't watched Rebels or whatever, like, well, how come she wasn't with Luke? And it's like, well, of course she wasn't with Luke. Like, if there's ever a scene in this show or whatever where she meets Luke and Luke's like, hey, do you want to come help? Come help! I'm starting a Jedi school. She would go, see what happens with that. Fuck that shit, and she would fuck off. Like, there's no doubt in my mind of how that scene would play. Like, she would say no, she wouldn't want anything to do with it because she's not a Jedi. So that all adds up. That all makes sense. That's fine. Ezra being alive is not a problem because the show literally sent him off into presumably the unknown regions. Like, that's where we kind of presume he's disappeared to. And Thrawn. All right, so let Thrawn, because I haven't really touched on that. So that is the most like backdoory pilot mention of the episode. And again, it's for me, as a big fan of Rebels, I was like, oh, they said the name. As someone who's like, read the Thrawn books and all these sorts of things, Thrawn is a super interesting character. But again, a lot of this episode, positive and criticisms, negatives, whatever you want to call it, this whole scene, the fight and everything for her to be like, oh, I'm looking for Thrawn. That's all just for people like me sitting there going, she's still, but where's Sabine? Where's, like, what are we doing? Like, she's looking for Thrawn because Thrawn's probably with Ezra and she's trying to help find Ezra. That's doing lots for me. Whereas I guess the other difference to a similar sort of name drop is like when they said Ahsoka, it was still for this season. When they said,
it's almost like for like the scene of them asking about where the Darksaber is.
Yeah, but at least that's going to be relevant for this season.
It's going to be relevant for this.
Like, where she's like, where's the Darksaber? Where's Moff Gideon? I presume that Bo-Katan's going to come back this season, or like at least maybe in another season. Like, I presume she's going to come help fight Gideon because she wants the Darksaber. So that all makes sense. When they name dropped Ahsoka, that made sense because Ahsoka showed up. When they name dropped Thrawn, that is, I highly doubt. But I mean, fuck it at this stage. But I highly doubt Thrawn's going to show up.
Yeah, because Gideon wouldn't be working for Thrawn.
No. Well, at this stage, like...
Because, Thrawn was a high-level person within the Empire before he disappeared.
Yeah, like Thrawn was up there with... I fucking mental blanking on his name. Whatever. The Moff fucking... Well, bad Star Wars fan, whatever. He was up there with the tops, right?
What's it? Tark or whatever?
Tarkin. That's it. Yeah.
Tarkin.
So he was up there with Tarkin, right? So if you read the Thrawn books, the canon ones, the couple that
not the Legends,
not the Legends Thrawn books, obviously. If you read the canon Thrawn books, then Thrawn is he does a lot of head to head versus I just mentioned blanking his name again. What did we say? Moth whatever. Yeah.
Thrawn.
No.
That's his name. Tarkin,
yeah, Moff Tarkin, yeah, like fucking hell. It's been time, it's been day. Yeah, he does a lot of head to head.
Our minds have been blown today,
yeah, many times. But I still have lots of questions, right? So I was trying to figure it out after this because like there's I don't know if this question's ever been answered. So the ending, this is really getting into the weeds of it, but let's fuck it. Let's go there. So the ending of Rebels, I don't know if they've officially ever put a timeline on where that 5-minute, 2-minute scene takes place, right? But the way it's being described and the way it's kind of shown to you, you're supposed to, I guess, presume that it's shortly after episode 6. But now, so like Mandalorian's like 9 years after, or something like that, I think. 9 years after episode 6. But now I'm like, is this Ahsoka scene maybe before the ending of Rebels? Like before she goes and gets Sabine? You know what I mean? Like I have lots of questions because if Ezra and Thrawn were taken by space whales into the unknown regions and that's where they're stuck and they're unable to come home just yet, why the fuck is Ahsoka asking some random lady and being like, I'm after your master? Because I'm like, why is this person? Is this an ex-Empire person? Is this who this woman is? Like, why is she? She's like, oh, you work for Thrawn. I'm like, but why? How? Who? You know what I mean? Like, what? If Thrawn's fucked off into the unknown regions, not by his own, accord. But if he's
not
over
by his
there,
own choice,
yeah, but like then he's got no one working for him because everyone assumes he's dead. You know what I mean? Like the rebels purposely fucks Thrawn off out of the picture of the original trilogy because then, of course, if he was around, people would go, well, Thrawn would have destroyed Han Solo. You know, like...
Yeah, so apparently the magistrate was instrumental in the construction of the Imperial Navy during the Galactic Empire. So she was working with the Navy, which doesn't make sense.
But even then, I'm like...
So she was part of the Empire, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, even then, why is Ahsoka getting information from her? Like, what the... how would she know where Thrawn is? If Thrawn is lost.
Thrawn, well, clearly is not lost at this point.
That's... Yeah. but if Thrawn's not lost, if Thrawn's back from the unknown regions, then I guess Ezra's back and he's got him captive or something.
Maybe Thrawn left him in the No? Maybe they got separated.
Oh, no. I highly doubt that look, this is already in the weeds. Why do I keep saying that? I highly doubt that they've left the unknown regions yet because basically in the Thrawn books, they keep setting up the Chiss Ascendancy and this other group of aliens I can't remember the name of as like being big bads out there that would potentially be the villains for the Rebels sequel series or Ahsoka live action series, whatever direction they head with it. I don't know. I have lots of questions. I'm not going to get an answer. so I don't know who can help me. So anyway, that was this week's episode. It was great. It was a great episode. So I got my Ahsoka here. Got all my Ahsokas down there. You know, like it's a good time. I thought Rosario Dawson did a great job. She looks fantastic. Ahsoka's the best character in Star Wars. She looked fucking kick ass here. If you liked her, please watch Clone Wars or Rebels.
So which do you want, an animated series or a live action series? If this is a backdoor pilot, or like the weirdest, a crazy crossover, that's what it really is. Do you want to see Rosario Dawson again, or was it weird hearing her voice and not Ashley Eckstein's? Would you just get?
No, she did it. She did pretty good. Like I thought she sounded. But she got the mannerisms down too. That was the other important thing I felt. Like she got the subtle mannerisms of Ahsoka down, which kind of sold the performance. Like be that the little sly smiles or like the head nods or the stances is another important thing, I guess, that like the way Ahsoka holds and fights with her lightsabers. But again, a lot of that would be Dave Filoni because, he wouldn't direct Ahsoka and have her not look like Ahsoka. So it's just it's all Filoni. Well, I mean, there's other people that work on the show, but I'll give him all the credit. I don't know for the sequel thing. I would love. I find it weird. So they cast Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I don't think they're going to cast a big name and just have her do one guest performance. So I guess that's the big hump in the road.
The other thing, she could be returning within the seasons ahead, especially if they're going to go down the Mandalorian pathline. Maybe they get her help and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Which is, I would assume she would return on this show. I think, I don't know. Honestly, I do not know because at the moment I'm sold on this live action Ahsoka. I'm like, yeah, this looks pretty great. But then let's
get a bit more of this.
Yeah, like I'd like a little bit more of this. But also, if you were to be like, oh, which one do I want, animated or live action for that Rebels sequel series or whatever? I haven't seen live action Sabine. I haven't seen live action Ezra. I haven't seen live action Thrawn. I haven't seen all the key elements that I could easily pick. I know what they all look and sound like in animated form though. So, although the guy who voices Thrawn could just play him in live action as well. The other Mikkelsen. I can't remember his name. Lars? I think that's right. I think that's the one. Lars Mikkelsen or something like that, right? I think that's a.
Yep, Lars Mikkelsen.
There you go. Yeah, he could just play him in live action. Just put some blue paint on. Fucking go for it.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts?
Really good. I was they set it up early. The Beskar obviously being immune to the lightsaber energy or whatever. I'm sure that was a Rebels thing already, probably.
Yeah.
Now he's got a big spear. Looking forward to him using that in the future.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's important.
Or potentially he's going to break it down. I mean, that's the other thing he could do. Did you notice the
the owl
convoy?
Yeah. So the convoy.
I saw it and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I
So
looked down at you.
the convoy was in that first scene where the Mando's looking. It flew over during the fight in the town as well, and it may have been somewhere else. No, I didn't know it, so I wasn't very happy to see it. Although not a close up. Disappointingly, only just like sort of shadowy convoy. If for people who are like, what are we talking about? Convoy is a species of like owl creature type thing that was first introduced in the Clone Wars. It's basically been associated to be like Ahsoka's like air. Like whenever Ahsoka's around, especially during Rebels, there was always a convoy flying over. It was sort of like her what do you call it? Like a spirit animal? I guess I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, I named my bird Convoy after convoys, which is weird to name your bird a species name, but it's fine doing it once. So yeah, that was cool to see.
You do what you want. Then the other thing I think is the guy who helps him, the Asian dude.
Yeah, is that someone?
That's I believe I've been able to confirm this, but it's Wing-Ti Chao, who is a former Disney engineer and was named a Disney legend in 2019.
Really?
Someone who worked on one of the parks, yeah.
What a pull, if you're right.
Well, that's the only name that comes up when I search the name, so and it makes sense for them to pull someone from the Disney side of things, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out soon.
Of course, Michael Biehn from Alien and Terminator and everything now in Star Wars, and then the magistrate person was like a stunt woman from a bunch of different projects. So.
Fits because she had the fight with the
great fight.
Bloody
hell! Ahsoka has to go diving in that pond.
Yeah,
there are the lights on the back. I guess you could just.
No, I should just use the Force to get it, but that's fine.
Now I think about it.
Yeah. As for the Beskar,
not that much of an inconvenience.
No.
Yeah.
As for the Beskar spear, I think it'd make more sense for him to keep it that way because then he has a way to fight Gideon with the Darksaber, right? I mean, because currently, how does Mando fight Gideon using Darksaber?
That's a good point.
He can't really until he got the spear. So I feel like that's what the spear's use will be in the next coming episodes. Will be to duel Gideon. Although I don't know how good Mando is with like sword fighting or whatever you want to call it. So we're about to find out though. Yeah, so that'll do it for this week's episode of The MandaLOREians. Of course, you can check out the show youtube.com/Explosion Network, explosionnetwork.com, or all podcasting services. If you'd like to just listen to it, search for The Mandalore, LOREians. And we'll be here next week talking about whatever happens. I don't, at this stage.
Who knows?
Fucking
I don't. So we've got 3 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
Next week's written by Jon Favreau. Mm-hmm. Episode 7 written by Rick Famuyiwa.
Yep.
I assume he's directing that epised.
Would make sense.
And then Jon Favreau's directing the last one. Is next week the one we get Robert Rodriguez directing?
Yeah.
Or is he doing the final episode?
I wouldn't put it against. I could see Rodriguez directing the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's a big name director. Like it's not like handing off to someone. So I don't know.
No, it's not handing it over to a rookie or anything.
If I had to pick one of these episodes to be a filler episode, I'm going to say it's Rick's episode.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say next week we're going straight to Jedi Temple. Then there's some sort of semi-filler, and then showdown with Gideon, I guess. Unless the finale is like a 2-parter in some
it could, yeah.
way.
I mean, last season was a 2-parter,
so that would make sense.
Like, I would not be shocked if at the end of episode 7, the baby gets stolen again.
Yeah, which come on.
He goes to go recommend. I mean, it's 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, that'd be silly. Come on. You get
and
stolen
maybe
they
succeed.
Luke Skywalker steals him.
Yeah, maybe maybe it's stolen next week. Right? Finale has to fight the Dark Soldiers or whatever.
Yeah. Dark Troopers. Plus Darksaber, plus
Yeah. You were on top of that.
It's all
Everybody seems to
happening.
be jumping on that.
Yeah, fucking that's right. Everyone, that's right. You come listen to the Mandalorians. I can't remember fucking Grand Moff Tarkin's name, but I can sure randomly pull out shit like
shit from a video game 20 years ago. Yeah.
Got him. All right. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Looking forward to talking about it. Ahsoka Tano out. Boy.
She have a catchphrase?
Fuck you, Anakin.
Has she spoken?
Do what I want, Anakin. I don't know.